The civil society platform Guinea Ecuatorial también es nuestra wish to express his deepest condolences to the families of the casualty explosion in Bata on the 7th of March and reiterates his solidarity with all the victims, the majority of whom were military personnel and their families. Likewise, we wish for speedy recovery to all those injured who remain hospitalized. Our solidarity is not simple a symbolic gesture, as we have also expressed it through our effort on the ground in Bata. Members and volunteers of GE Nuestra continue providing humanitarian aid thanks to the donation of dozens of people from inside and outside the country. The members of this platform wish to express their gratitude to all Equatorial Guinean citizens for their mobilization to help their brothers and sisters in Bata. We also wish to thank all the international agencies, organizations, big and small, and countries that are sending human and material resources to alleviate the humanitarian crisis in Bata. In our first public statement released on Sunday, the 7th of March, immediately after the series of blasts that rocked Bata, GE Nuestra made several proposals to the government. 1 week later, we reaffirmed the validity of these proposals, although some measures have been partially implemented. We demand that the government step up its effort, given the evidence and unacceptable lack of state coordination. The state funeral for the mortal victim of the explosion was held. Despite nearly half of the 107 casualties had not yet been identified, we regret to say that this funeral had all the ingredients of a marketing operation. Envelopes full of cash were handed into the relative of the deceased during a ceremony that was supposed to honor the victims. To our mind, this shows total lack of respect for the victims of the country's biggest tragedy in recent memory and cannot be considered appropriate compensation for the loss of human life. Charity must not blindfold the eyes of justice. Many of the family affected by the Nkwantoma blast are still suffering the consequences and continue to be neglected by the state. We demand that the government begin to proceed of identifying every single victim so that ex officio acknowledge state responsibility and civil liability and proceeds to compensate the victims in accordance with the country legislation. Ley número 2/2/015 de régimen jurídico de la Administración General del Estado. Artículo 142. We demand and insist on the provision of free healthcare for life for all the injured through the National Health and Social Care Service. Likewise, we demand the provision of education scholarship throughout all levels of the education system, including tertiary education for all the children affected, especially those who lost their parents. To this purpose, we also demand that all luxury property owned by the state, such as yet valued at hundreds of millions of dollars, be sold immediately to contribute to the payment of state compensation for the victim, since Equatorial Guinea belongs to all the victims too. Finally, the existence of numerous accounts of the 7th of March explosion demonstrate the lack of expertise of the authorities in charge of directing the investigation. Therefore, we demand the Equatorial Guinea government to facilitate immediately the deployment of an independent international investigation team. Furthermore, the government must be transparent and identify similar warehouses where explosives and ammunition are stored so that experts can determine if such storage facility meet the necessary standard and requirement. Both the independent investigation and assessment must be conducted without any excuses or unnecessary delay. So all the persons affected by the 7th of March explosion and the rest of the citizens can know the truth of what happened and the identities of those responsible for the tragedy. This should serve to avoid similar accidents in the future. The member of GE Nuestra demand that the government urgently implement this measure in order to properly pay tribute to the victims of this tragedy. Thank you.